Mindscape. Almost as soon as his head hit the pillow, Naruto was dragged into his mindset where he once again faced the Kyuubi and his other guests. Well done, Kit. That was an impressive display, Kurama grudgingly admitted as Naruto bowed slightly from the praise. But why did you not use my power? That fight would have been over much more quickly if you had called upon my power, and you know this, the giant fox asked. Naruto frowned at that. Kurama, as much as possible I don't like using your power. You do not have an issue when using whatever the cube feels the need to grant you with, Kurama countered frowning. That's different. The power the cube gives me isn't destructive like yours. Naruto replied. The Biju raised an eyebrow at this. So the mess you have managed to create during that fight was not destructive. Naruto sighed. You know what I mean, Kurama. That one time I tried using your power with Itachi-ni outside of Konoha, I almost killed him then. I can't think straight when I use your power and I could feel you trying to control me. Optimus has explained that little fact a lot more, clearly, than you have. If I use too much of your power, then there is a chance for you to break loose, which will effectively kill me and probably doom the world. Naruto explained while flailing his arms for added effect. And it goes without mention that your chakra poisons my body. Do you know how much it hurts to feel your skin peel off? Naruto winced at the memory. You've made your point, Kurama growled. And I am not ashamed that I tried tricking a little brat like you. The blonde boy stuck his tongue out back at the massive beast, yeah, whatever, fuzzball. Optimus can practically read your mind, and he has done a good job of keeping me safe and warning me about every time something smells fishy, or foxy, about you. Naruto then turned to the blue and red robot that was patiently waiting for him to finish his conversation with the Biju. Hey there, Optimus. If you don't mind me asking, who's the new robot that helped me in that fight? All I know is that his name is Barricade and he has a different sign on his chest compared to you and Bumblebee. The black robot known as Barricade stepped forward so that he could face both Optimus and Naruto simultaneously. Yes, my name is Barricade. Like Prime, I also originate from Cybertron. The insignia difference you have noticed is because Prime and Bumblebee are under the Autobot faction. Frenzy and I, however, are Decepticon. Barricade explained in a gruff, threatening voice. Naruto didn't feel any hostility from the new robot, so decided that it was just the way the robot sounded. Oh. Okay. But why are you in factions anyway? Don't you all come from within the same cube? Naruto asked curiously. Optimus decided to answer this question. No. Cybertron is not within the cube like you think. It used to be a world far away from here. In that world everyone joined a faction, much like your shinobi nations on this world. The Autobot and Decepticon factions were certainly the biggest, and we were definitely enemies at that time. But there were other factions around that would sometimes ally with us or sometimes with them. Examples of these are the Constructicons. They are an independent faction that have the ability to join their bodies together to make a much bigger robot. There are still many more within the cube, but all of us have called a truce while inside. You can compare Autobots and Decepticons with the 5 great hidden villages and the others as the lower hidden villages. It doesn't matter in the cube right now, however, as there is a temporary truce. Even if we do keep mostly to our own factions, the cube has willed for a truce and the cube's wishes override all. Naruto nodded in understanding. So the cube chose me to protect it and also carry out a prophecy already seen for me. Oh well, I'll fulfill it even if I don't know what it is, Tte. Yes, Naruto, that is how it works. Optimus shook his head in amusement as he answered. The large robot then turned towards Barricade. Barricade, since you are here, I take it that Megatron is going to cooperate. The black robot nodded. He is organizing the entire Decepticon force to be ready to assist should they be required. At first, Megatron only wanted to send Frenzy out. But thankfully, Blackout and Soundwave have made him see some sense. He has agreed that working with you will be in our best interests and safety from the creators that are after us. In your absence, the Autobots have turned to Sentinel Prime for leadership and there is currently no conflict. That is good to know, Barricade, thank you. The Decepticon took a step back and bowed slightly. Now Naruto, Optimus called as Naruto looked up from a game with Frenzy. Are you ready for more training? Naruto leapt up. Of course I am. Is that even a question? The large Autobot turned to the large, red fox that had tucked itself away into the corner. Kurama, we are done with the boy. He is ready to commence his training session for tonight. Fine, fine, fine. Kurama grumbled as he opened a gigantic eye. It is time to test your skills against these two opponents. The Biju said as two figures materialized in front of the blonde-haired boy. Didn't I fight these two already? Naruto asked when he noticed Osamu and Itachi staring at him. Yes, you have. But now I will be controlling them and you are restricted to human form. You are only permitted to use Suihogan and harden your skin, Kurama instructed lazily. Why Kurama? It's going to be easier to beat them when I use all of my powers. Naruto protested angrily. The massive Biju raised an eyebrow. Let's put it this way. You cannot only rely on your ability to transform into massive robots in a fight. If you train this way, then when you do need to transform, the overall transformation will be more efficient than before. It tried to explain. Hey. I still don't get it. Naruto cocked his head to the side in confusion. What he means, Naruto, is that if you improve your base abilities and your human form, then your improvement will be directly proportional to the abilities of your increased size. Optimus attempted to clarify. Naruto, however, looked even more confused than before and he deadpanned. That's not helping. Helping. Barricade sighed. Just get stronger and we Cybertronians get stronger as well, brat. Ah. Why didn't you just say so? Naruto exclaimed as the realization hit him. Yada. Let's train now. Optimus and Kurama looked at Barricade like he had grown a second head. The black robot noticed them looking and shrugged. Sometimes you just have to be very straightforward. Kurama face faulted. My Jinchuriki is an idiot. He muttered to himself. He has his moments. Optimus agreed. Listen here, brat. There is no way I will have a weak container. Kurama ordered as the Osamu and Itachi he created launched themselves at Naruto. Yeah, whatever you say, fuzzball. Naruto shot back as he leapt in for his sparring session. Kurama sat back in his corner as he watched the boy train through two enormous blood-red eyes. Yes, boy, train your powers and get stronger. Keep refusing to use my power. Then one day, you will lose something important because of your inability to protect it. You will realize that you need my power. And when that happens, I'm going to break free. Let that foolish hunk of metal advise you against me, he doesn't realize that I don't care about their foolish prophecy. Savior. Protector. Once I break free from this pathetic prison I will destroy everything, even these creators they're so scared of. Kurama snickered evilly inside his head as he watched the boy train. I just need to wait a little longer and play along. The next day. Why do you have to be so troublesome, Ino? Shikamaru grumbled as he dropped into the academy seat lazily. We're almost a whole 30 minutes early. Ino meanwhile glared at him. What are you talking about, Shikamaru? Don't you want to be a ninja? Shikamaru opened an eye to look at her while his head lay on his arms on the desk. No, not really. It's such a drag to be honest, and I already know that I'm going to be on the same squad as you and Choji. You didn't need to drag me here so early. Well, unlike you, me and Choji want to know who our fourth team member is and our Jonin instructor. Besides, Ino smirked evilly. I'll tell your mom you said you didn't want to be a ninja and that you called it a drag. She would be so very pleased now, Shika, wouldn't she? Ino had to suppress a laugh when Shikamaru straightened up in his chair. Troublesome woman. The three new graduates' attention was then dragged to the front of the room when the Uzumaki siblings walked in with a beaming Arashi at the lead. Shikamaru raised an eyebrow. Hey, I thought you failed Arashi. This meeting is only for graduates, you know, the Nara clan heir said as he cradled his head on one arm and did his best to imitate a lazy sloth. He raised another eyebrow when Arashi's grin widened. Ha! You see this? Arashi said, tapping his forehead smugly. See. I did graduate. Take that, TT Ibeo. Shikamaru groaned. Troublesome, I had to ask. Kaide sat down next to Shikamaru and gave him a nudge. I'll fill you in on the story later on, Shika-kun. I can tell you're dying to know what happened, even if you're trying to hide it. She smirked. Shikamaru's face brightened up and he took his hand away from supporting his head. He turned round and sat up straighter to face her while he smiled. Troublesome, do I even need to ask how you know that? Kaide giggled and waggled a finger at the Nara. Don't you, troublesome, me Shika-kun, I might actually listen to your mom. The Nara clan head groaned. Why is everyone always blackmailing me with my mom? It's an inhuman drag. I thought you were better than that, Ka-chan. Ka-chan. Kaide gripped his ear playfully. You're making it sound like I'm your mother. Shikamaru raised his hands in surrender before groaning. That's it. I give up with nicknames. I tried shortening your name but it's apparently such a drag. The Nara clan heir smiled again, however, when Kaide chuckled. He found it cute. I think Kaide-chan will suffice, Shika-kun. Won't it? Kaide asked as Shikamaru gently pried out the scroll she was reading and put it away. I don't see an issue then, Kaide-chan. Shikamaru grinned. Now how about we finish our little game from yesterday? Kaide rolled her eyes. You just read my mind. She replied as she unsealed a shogi board with pieces already in play. Away from the two, Kiba whistled. Ooh. Shikamaru's whipped. Ha ha ha. Kiba laughed before Akane slapped the back of his head. Oi. Akane. Don't do that. Kiba growled as he rubbed his sore head. Akamaru, shut up. He added when he heard his little puppy snickering from within his jacket. The puppy cowered back inside and whined in protest. I have to agree with Kiba on his original sentence. Why? Because Shikamaru only ever loosens up when he is in Kaide-san's presence and laziness seems to temporarily leave him. The same can be said for Kaide-san. Why? Because the only one she puts away her scrolls for willingly is Shikamaru. I can safely assume that they are, what Kiba calls, whipped, Shino stated in his monotone voice next to Kiba. Although he did have something that resembled a smile tugging at his lips. Shino, we already knew that. Kiba grumbled. You should try saying something funny more often. Kiba took a step back when he saw Shino's evil smirk. Then perhaps I should inform them of the time when you. Shino didn't get to finish as Kiba had immediately caught on and in a second had his hand firmly clamped over Shino's mouth while Ino and Akane raised their eyebrows. Hee, it's nothing to worry about. Kiba laughed unconvincingly. What is it, Kiba? Akane said in a quiet voice that frightened the Inuzuka even more and led him to clamp down his nervous hands even further on Shino's mouth. And nothing. I already told you it's nothing. Kiba protested desperately as Akane started marching towards him. Ino, Choji and Arashi were watching the scene in amusement. Kiba was saved from Akane's wrath at the last second by cry of dynamic entry. A green blur erupted from the doorway and Akane barely just managed to raise her arm and catch the powerful kick that was aimed at her head. She let go of the foot before greeting the newcomer. Good morning, Lee-kun. I see that you are back already from your morning training with Gai-sensei and that you are wearing his graduation gift. Akane greeted as she noticed the green jumpsuit that Gai had gifted Lee for graduating. But why were you trying to kick me? She yelled as she bonked him on the head. The spandex-clad boy's round eyes widened even further in shock. Almost immediately Lee was down on the ground with his head bowed and crying anime tears. Sorry. Please forgive me, Akane-chan. Guy-sensei said it is most unyouthful to attack such a pretty and beautiful flower unless absolutely necessary. I was simply practicing Guy-sensei's second rule. Always make a good, powerful, and most importantly, youthful entry with this dynamic entry wherever I go. Akane smiled and blushed a little at Lee's flirting. It's okay, Lee-kun. I forgive you. But I think he meant that dynamic entry should be used whenever you enter fights. Lee shot up and stared at Akane, and the Uzumaki girl could swear that there was a fire behind each of his eyes as out of nowhere shot a notebook and a pencil, and he began to furiously take notes. Thank you for such youthful wisdom, Akane-chan. I will be sure to heed it for the rest of my life. Guy-sensei said it is also good and youthful to listen to the advice of women that look much smarter than oneself so that we do not look like unyouthful idiots. That is no problem, Lee-kun, glad I could help. Akane replied. Akane. Lee. Akane. Lee shouted as his arms opened up for a hug. Lee. Akane looked at him strangely when she felt something crunching underneath her feet. Sand. Where did the sand come from? She thought to herself. Akane. Lee. Akane stared in shock as a large embodiment of water appeared to one side, with waves splashing high. Akane. Lee. Akane growled desperately in a stern voice as a sunset appeared beside them and the boy started running towards her for a hug. Akane. Lee. No. Akane yelled when she noticed she was now in a similar green suit to Lee's. Akane. Knowing where all of this was going, having seen a horrific sight between sensei and student just the day before, Akane stared in absolute horror as Lee's clothes disappeared, effectively leaving him only in boxers. To save herself and everyone else around them, Akane kicked Lee back out of the door. The class sighed in relief, somehow knowing they had barely escaped a memory that could have scarred them for life. Eep! A frightened squeak was heard as Lee shot through the door. A few seconds later, a blonde boy walked in through the door with Lee slung over on his shoulders. Okay, Naruto called out, who kicked Lee out? He nearly crashed into Hinata-chan. Naruto announced as Hinata walked in behind him. Sorry, Naruto. Akane called out. Naruto deadpanned. You two again? Kami, train outside. You two are going to hurt someone badly real soon if you keep it. Yosh. Naruto. I shall go outside and burn my flames of youth. Lee exclaimed as he leapt off the blonde boy and made to dash outside. Before he made it out the door, however, he was forcefully stopped by someone grabbing him by the ear. Baka. We need to wait here so that we know our teams and Jonin sensei's. Akane scolded as she dragged him back to their seat. Lee, however, was flailing his arms and legs around desperately. But Akane-chan. My flames of youth will extinguish if I do not fan them. Once they got back to their seat, Akane turned to the bowler cut ninja. If you do not want your flames to go out, then give me 500 thumb push-ups right now. She commanded while pointing at the ground. Lee dropped like a rock, then began to accomplish his task at an inhuman rate. Ooh, someone else is whipped as well. Kiba howled before he heard knuckles cracking behind him. Oh come on, not you too, Ino. Something is wrong with the girls in here, you're all crazy. Kiba groaned. Suddenly, the Inuzuka paled when he noticed that he had turned more than a few heads of the opposite gender. Shino sighed and took a step away from Kiba. Hee, hello ladies. Before anything serious could occur, the attention of most of the female gender snapped to the front and they shared a joint scream when Sasuke walked in. Oh Kami, Sasuke muttered before dashing to the back of the class and grabbing Kiba and Arashi on either side of him as a defense mechanism. The two didn't seem to mind at the attention while Sasuke was busy thinking of future plans. Okay, last day at the academy. Last day. After this maybe I should wear a mask. Yeah. Like the Hitaki clan. They're good looking but they aren't swamped. Sasuke mentally patted himself on the back for his ideology. Everyone's attention was then recalled to their seats by Iruka, who had suddenly walked into the class with a clipboard in his hands. The scar-faced Chunin glanced around at the gathered graduates. He looked at the clipboard and nodded to himself before clearing his throat. Okay, good. Everyone's here. How do you all feel today? He chuckled at the looks he was getting. Can we get on with it already? You're making it too much of a drag. Shikamaru grumbled. Iruka laughed. Well then I guess it's best that we get started before some people fall asleep. Nobody missed the glance Iruka sent Shikamaru as he stated the fact and everyone shared a laugh. Troublesome. Shikamaru rolled his eyes. Anyways, I'll cut straight to the chase. You all have been called here today because you have been deemed talented enough and competent enough to join the ranks of Konoha's shinobi. Of course, right now, you all understand that you are mere genin. In other words, you are rookies. So expect a lot of work ahead of you, Iruka started. He received grumbles in response before he continued. If you want to rise in the ranks, then this is an important part of your career. Pay close attention to what you will learn from now on. You won't be graded anymore. You aren't in the academy anymore. This is your job. You're all adults now, and if you don't understand that soon, then you will likely end up either seriously injured or dead. This is a very serious thing that you need to know. It's not about homework and exams anymore. This is about life and death. So pay very close attention. The bored and annoyed expressions from previously had by now all but disappeared. Iruka nodded, clearly satisfied with this response, and surveyed his former students once again. All right then, I have a few more things to explain to you before you all go off to become ninja. First off, since you are new at this and haven't ever been on a mission before, you'll need someone to teach you the ins and the outs so that we can be sure you will all survive. For this purpose we have several specially assigned Jonin commanders to train you. Iruka added. Oh cool, we get to be trained by the best. This is gonna be so awesome, Ibeo. Urashi whispered to Kiba, who also nodded. Sasuke didn't know what to think as he and Naruto were already being trained by Itachi. There weren't many people much better than his elder brother. The three turned back to listen when Iruka started speaking again. Another thing, you won't be alone. For squad safety and efficiency there will be 4 genin under each Jonin sensei, and these team formations have already been decided by your respective Jonin sensei and agreed upon by the Hokage. It will be very, very important for you all to get along with your team members, whoever they end up being. Teamwork is one of the most fundamental assets of a ninja, and here in Konoha, we are renowned for our teamwork and how there is never a comrade left behind. If there is no teamwork, then your squad will probably end up getting nowhere. Now I don't think I should carry on for any longer as some of you seem like they are about to fall asleep. Iruka glanced pointedly at Shikamaru. I will announce the squads now. Each of you pay attention because I will only say this once. The class seemed to move forward in anticipation. Is everyone listening? Iruka asked as he watched nods from around the room. Good. Okay. Squad 1. Daisuke Yamamoto, Naoki Benio, Hatsudo Sadaharu, Hanegaku, Iruka announced. Naruto's thoughts were going a mile a minute and he barely heard his classmates' names being called out one by one. Groups of 4, Jonin Commander, Training, Missions. Naruto-kun, Hinata whispered as she nudged him, you should pay attention. Huh. Oh, yeah. He warned you that he's only going to tell our assigned squads once. Shino stated from across Naruto. Fine, whatever, I'm listening now. Squad 7, Sasuke Uchiha. This got the class's collective attention as the girls that had already been assigned teams groaned. Sakura Haruno, Iruka was interrupted when said girl squealed in delight. She had matured a little during the course of the year but still lost control in matters regarding Sasuke. Ha! Take that, Ino. Sasuke-kun is mine. True love does exist. The class noticed Sasuke sink lower into his seat. It had to be that one. The Uchiha sighed in resignation. I really need to get that mask. One girl however couldn't help it and burst out laughing. Oh Kami. Condolences to you, Sasuke. I feel sorry for whoever else ends up on your team. My poor ears. Tenten laughed heartily as she acted out covering her ears while Sasuke mock glared at the girl. If only more girls like that Tenten would end up on my team, my ears would definitely love it. Sasuke thought. As I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, Iruka cleared his throat. Next member of Team 7 is Tenten Jakunato. The class erupted into laughter while Tenten's forehead met the table rather fast, crying tears. I'm sorry Kami, I will never make fun of anyone like that again. Tenten repented silently. She was brought out of her trance by a rather loud Uzumaki taunting her. Tenten just ate her words, "Tt Ibeo." Arashi chanted out. He shut up when a sharpened pencil nicked his ear before burying itself in the wall. Shut it, redhead. Tenten growled from her seat in the front. Sasuke's grin grew wider. He could work with a girl like this. Iruka's left eye twitched as he added chakra to his voice to make it louder. As I was saying, he started. The academy instructor calmed down when the class settled. The final member of Team 7 is Naruto Uzumaki. Sasuke's face beamed with joy at the back of the class as he returned Naruto's grin when they caught each other's eye. Tenten sighed in relief. Two male prodigies on her team outbalanced the bad. The three of them then widened their eyes to hear that Kakashi Hatake was going to be their Jonin-sensei. Meanwhile there were three others that were visibly depressed at the news. Shino, Kiba, and Hinata had been hoping they would end up on a team with the blonde as he was one of the only ones they could trust fully in the class. Teammate under Kurenai Yuhi, Hinata Hyuga, Shino Aburame, Kiba Inuzuka and Arashi Uzumaki. Iruka continued. The three friends smiled, at least they were together. And Arashi wasn't so bad. It was almost as good as actually having Naruto with them. Despite the obvious skill difference, Arashi would be a fitting member. Yada. I'm in a cool team, Tt Ibeo. And it's with Hinata-chan. Nay, Hinata-chan, wanna go out on a date later? Arashi offered Hinata, who let out a little squeak in surprise. Naruto was not aware he had done it, but his head had snapped back to glare at Arashi. Even if it was lost to the redhead, Hinata and Naruto himself, the action was not missed by Sasuke, Shino and Kiba, who immediately tried to defuse the situation. Oi Arashi, we need to train first and do many missions before you think of dating anyone. Kiba replied loudly. I agree, and there might be no point. Why? Because Hinata may not want to follow your advances. Shino stated. The situation still seemed completely lost on Arashi, however. Are you sure about that? Hinata would love to go out with me. Wouldn't you, Hinata-chan? Arashi asked as he turned to face her. By now Hinata was turning dangerously red in her seat next to Naruto. The blonde, however, was threatening to shatter the table with a hand gripping the edge as he continued to glare at his cousin. I'm not so sure about that, Arashi. Kiba said nervously as he watched Naruto. Nonsense, in fact, I'll take her out to Ichiraku's place later to celebrate. Arashi added as he announced his offer. Don't worry Arashi, if it's to celebrate then I'll take her there. Everyone turned to Naruto as he said that. His voice seemed strained. Oh, too bad then. Arashi pouted as he dropped back down into his seat. Can I come with you? He asked hopefully. A glare from his blonde cousin gave him a very clear answer. I guess that's a no then. The red-headed boy clarified with his arms up in surrender. Everyone visibly relaxed when Naruto eased his grip on the table and leaned back into his seat. He probably wasn't aware he was doing it, but afterwards he wrapped an arm around Hinata's shoulders. Hinata herself had almost completely ceased her stuttering and had made good progress around her shyness. She had her friends to thank for that. However, even if you didn't stutter or blush normally, when your crush puts an arm around you can't help but lose a little bit of control. Ahem. Iruka coughed to regain their attention. Moving on. But before that. I do not want any more interruptions. The scar-faced man yelled. The next person to interrupt will not graduate. Ever. He grinned sadistically when the majority of the class shrank back away from him, nodding. Good. Squad 9 under Guy Maeda, Neji Hyuga, Lee Rock, Akane Uzumaki and Akumo Chifuyo. At the mention of her name, a silent girl that looked as if she was asleep at the back of the class sat up straight when the class looked at her. Her face lit up into a Cheshire cat grin that even Neji paled at. Iruka thought that the girl reminded him a little too much of a certain Anko Mitarashi. Hopefully those two would not meet. The scar-faced Chunin already felt sorry for what Guy had in store for him. Squad 10 under Asuma Sarutobi, Choji Akamichi, Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara and Kaide Uzumaki. The said members all shared a breath of relief, and Ino giggled when she caught the glance shared between Shikamaru and Kaide. Teasing them would be so much fun. The blonde girl was dragged out of her musings by Iruka making one last announcement. Thank you all of you, these will probably be my last words to you, and all I can say is good luck out there. Spend some time to get to know your new team members and be back here at noon to be collected by your Jonin-sensei. Dismissed. Iruka said happily, smiling at the last time he would be seeing this class. Outside. Upon leaving the classroom, all the recent graduates split up to get to know their own teams better before heading back to class to meet their Jonin-senseis later on. Before Naruto split up with Team 8, however, he made sure to let Hinata know that he was serious about taking her out and that he would fetch the next day at 6. She had blushed lightly and thanked him for inviting her. Little did she know that Naruto was not planning on taking her anywhere Ichiraku's for the meantime. He had other plans that Makoto had advised him in. After Kiba grumbled that Naruto was now trying to sabotage their team by distracting Hinata, Team 7 and Team 8 went their separate ways. So hey guys. Naruto stated as he spun around clapping his hands. Since we're going to be a team and all, then let's get to know each other. Me and Sasuke are practically brothers, so I don't think that's gonna be a problem here, but just to be fair. I am Naruto Uzumaki. I like training, ramen and doing pranks. I dislike people who judge too early and are cruel for a very poor reason. I dream of one day ruling a village properly and to make sure everything within it is run fairly. Naruto started off by introducing himself. Tenten and Sakura have no need to know about my clan or where it currently is. Sasuke already knows though, but I don't think he's gonna tell. He thought to himself. Your turn, Sasuke. Fine. I'm Sasuke Uchiha. I like training and seeing my progress, and I dislike unfair people and those who are overly obsessed with something. Sasuke said as he glanced at Sakura, who was listening far too intently as she gazed at him. Sasuke sighed before continuing. My dream is to become the Hokage of Konohagakure and to lead successfully along with Naruto. Tenten looked at him quizzically. Didn't Naruto say he was going to lead a village? I thought Naruto wanted to become the Hokage. Naruto sighed. It's not like that, Tenten. I'm not planning on leading Konoha, that's Sasuke's job. I'm hoping to lead another village. Tenten gasped. You're going to betray Konoha and turn traitor. Naruto and Sasuke's eyes widened. Huh. Wait, what? I'm not gonna betray the village, Tenten. Kami, this is complicated. I'll explain later on. Speaking of which, it's your turn. Naruto quickly changed topic, trying to cover up that he and Sasuke had slipped. Tenten glared at the boys. She was not satisfied, as it was obvious that they were hiding something from her. She would let it slide. For now, I'm Tenten Jakunato and I like weapons of all kinds. I dislike anybody who shows no care towards their equipment. My dream is to become well known in the elemental nations for my weapon skills and become as strong as Tsunade Senju one day. She exclaimed. That's a nice dream, we just need to work hard to get there now, won't we? Naruto grinned at the bun-haired girl who smiled back. Your turn now, Sakura. Oi. Sakura. The blonde-haired boy clicked his fingers in front of her face to snap her out of her daydream. What? Huh. Oh. I'm Sakura Haruno and I like, she giggled as she looked at Sasuke, and I dislike competition for, she giggled again. And my dream is too, the pink-haired girl then squealed loudly. Sasuke groaned while Naruto frowned. Tenten on the other hand face-palmed. I swear you make Kunoichi like us look bad, Sakura. The bun-haired girl then turned to Naruto. Well then Naruto, what do we do now? Why are you asking him what to do? You should be asking Sasuke-kun. Sasuke-kun is stronger and smarter, so he definitely should lead us. Sakura retaliated. Now it was Sasuke who frowned. Naruto, give us a while please. Sakura, come with me. The raven-haired boy ordered as he started walking away. Sakura squealed loudly in delight, causing the other two members of the team to cover their ears. Coming Sasuke-kun. She answered happily as she skipped along behind him. Ah, Naruto shook his head to clear it. Banshee's gone. The blue-eyed boy turned to see Tenten studying his face intently. Tenten. Why are you looking at me like that? It's creepy. Tenten moved in closer. I feel like I've seen you somewhere before. Kinda, we were somewhat in the same class for the last couple of years, Tenten. Naruto deadpanned. Were you in the orphanage before? She continued. That hit something and Naruto began to immediately scan the girl in front of him. She was right about one thing, he did remember seeing her somewhere before. Those light brown eyes, the Chinese attire, the two buns, wait, buns. Instantly a memory hit him from one of the orphanages he was in. Panda-chan. Tenten's eyes widened in recognition. I knew it. Whisker-kun. She exclaimed loudly, surprise evident on her face. I just noticed now, but you were definitely the only one I ever knew to have whisker marks like that. And you were the only one with those silly buns on her head. The blonde boy added. Yes hey, did you just call my buns silly? Naruto's grin widened. You got it, Panda-chan. Tenten clenched her fists. After all this time, you still call them silly? She growled angrily. Yup. Naruto smirked. And I did learn my lesson. We'll go to a sushi store later as a team, how does that sound? Tenten's eyes widened. You still remember that? We didn't see each other ever since I got adopted at 4. Naruto grinned. Of course I did. You were my only friend then, remember? Tenten looked down. I'm sorry. Naruto caught on to the mood and frowned. Sorry for what? Well, after that I couldn't find you, so I thought that you got transferred or adopted. And after the first 2 days I was so happy with my new family that I forgot about you. Even knowing how much everyone hated you. I feel terrible now, I didn't even try to find out why they hated you. Tenten said sadly with her head bowed down. Naruto felt his heart clench and he walked up to her and lifted her chin up to look her in the eye. It's just fine, Panda-chan, look at me now. I turned out alright, so there's nothing for you to worry about. Except maybe for you finding a boyfriend with that hairstyle. Tenten looked up and grinned at the boy before punching him playfully on the shoulder. Oh really? Well, enough of me, I wanna hear about you and Hinata. Come on, spill. What you two did in class was so cute. Tenten teased as she laughed at Naruto's flustered expression. He hadn't been that obvious, had he? The blonde-haired Uzumaki rubbed the back of his head while grinning sheepishly, sporting a slight blush. Luckily he saw a way out. Hey Panda-chan, you like action, right? Almost instantly the bun-haired girl forgot about the teasing. Yeah, why? Naruto laughed inside his head at how easily he had swayed his old friend from the topic. Come then, I've got something I've been meaning to show you. Naruto explained as he dashed towards a training ground inside the Uchiha compound. Wait up, Whisker-kun. Tenten yelled as she took off after him. Meanwhile, Sakura had followed Sasuke to a seemingly remote area near a lakeside which she had to say was beautiful. Why did Sasuke-kun bring me here? Sakura thought wildly. He's finally going to propose to us. Her inner voice rejoiced. Really? Is that why he took us to this place to talk alone? Of course. Why else? He finally realized our beauty. Shanaru. Oh. I can't wait. Focus. Oh look, he stopped. Pay attention, Baka. Sasuke-kun is talking, he's finally going to admit his love to us. Unaware of the conversation Sakura was having with herself, the raven-haired boy was deciding the best way to approach her with what he had to say. Sasuke didn't want to be rude or heartless, but he had to say what he had to say at that moment before it could get any worse. He stopped and turned to face the excited girl inside. He wished he really didn't have to do this. Sakura, there is something I have to tell you. The raven-haired boy started. Don't worry, Sasuke-kun, I'm listening. Sakura said as her hopes rose. I don't like fangirls like you, Sakura. Sasuke stated bluntly. And just like that, Sakura's hopes were dashed to the ground. What? I don't think I heard you right, Sasuke-kun. Weren't you going to propose to me? To tell me that you love me? Sakura shrieked in a hurt voice. Sasuke sighed. No, Sakura, I wasn't. And this is exactly why. You don't care about anything else other than trying to impress me or dreaming about our future. This way of thinking can get you killed or get our team seriously injured, Sakura. As you are now, you're a liability to our team. Who is it? Sakura asked quietly. Who is it? She shouted louder. Tell me what girl stole your attention. Was it Ino? That traitor. I'll never forgive. Sakura. Sasuke yelled furiously. Do you see what I'm talking about? Your world revolves only around me. I don't like any girl right now at all. None of you even know me on a personal level, yet you all follow me around like dogs. This is why I don't like any of you. The angry outburst from her beloved brought more pain to Sakura as the tears started falling freely from her eyes. I'm sorry, Sasuke. What is it? What else is wrong with me? I can change. I can fix myself so that you... Sasuke stopped her rant by placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. Listen to me, Sakura. He said softly. I'm sorry to have to say this, but I have to say it now. If you stop this attitude and start focusing on becoming a skilled and respectable kunoichi, then we can get closer, but only as friends. We can never become more than friends, Sakura, as I have no such feelings for you. I don't hate you, but I just cannot really see us as anything more. Would you still like to become one of my friends, Sakura? Sakura sucked up her tears and sniffled silently. Yes, it hurt. Her fantasies over the current years had just been violently thrown back into her face. But at least he still wanted to be her friend. If they could be nothing more than friends, then so be it, but she would definitely try her best to change. Yes, Sasuke-kun. I want to be your friend. I promise I'll try to change. Sasuke gave her a warm smile as she slowly dried her tears. Her heart would have fluttered if he had done that for her before, but now, she simply felt like he had been taken off the pedestal she had previously held him in. She smiled back as well. That's nice to hear, Sakura. First of all, one of the things I want to correct is who you listen to in our team. I'm not sure about Tenten, but Naruto is probably the leader of our squad. Sasuke said, genuinely relieved that he had probably eliminated her most annoying trait. Sakura looked at him a little confused. Why Naruto? Why not you? She asked. She honestly had not paid anyone else much attention at the academy, but she did know that Naruto was one of the best. It's because between the two of us, Naruto is probably the smarter one and more skilled in a fair fight. He also sometimes thinks things more thoroughly than I do, so it is best to listen to him. Sasuke explained, happy that Sakura was at least more genuinely interested in something other than simply him. She was also starting to use her logical side at the moment, which was a plus. But you said in a fair fight, what does that mean? I meant that me and Naruto are mostly equals when he doesn't use his other abilities. He has something that's almost like a Kekai Genkai that only he can do, and I am no match for him when he uses it. Whoa, am I going to get to see it? Yeah, soon probably. Naruto suggested a gathering of all our abilities so we know how to work together as a team. Let's start with you so that we know what you can do. Sasuke informed her, liking the turn of the conversation. Well, I can do all the academy jutsu, and I am already studying some advanced genjutsu. Unfortunately, that is pretty much it. Sakura replied, not very confident in her current skill set. It's okay, Sasuke reassured her. We need genjutsu backup in a fight, and me and Naruto usually attack head-on, so we have no time for genjutsu, but if you can do them well, then that can really make our assaults way easier. Come on, let's see how good you are then. He challenged as he activated his Sharingan. Here goes then. In the Uchiha training ground. Tenten was staring at Naruto awestruck. Whiskers, that was awesome. She yelled excitedly. You can turn into giant robots and you can do those jutsu. It's really cool to have you on this team. Naruto smirked at Tenten. You know it, TT Ibeo. He replied before a thought struck him. Hey, I just remembered that I could see those hand seals. I think I can probably do those Doden jutsus that Osamu was using. Tenten was jumping up and down in excitement. Go ahead then. Try it, Whiskers, if you can do it then I'm treating you to ramen. Game on, TT Ibeo. On second thought, maybe not. Tenten quickly changed her mind when she saw the predatory gaze that Naruto had just given her. She then laughed at Naruto's pout as he crossed his arms and turned away. Anyway, which one should I try first, Panda-chan? Naruto asked when he finally got back on topic a few minutes later. I think the Doden, Ukina Shugeki, Earth Release, Great Impact is going to be nice. The one with the armor is probably useless to you and most of the other things look like they will destroy a lot of stuff. Tenten suggested. Naruto raised an eyebrow. And this technique won't? He asked teasingly. Tenten glared at him. Shut up, it looks cool so just do it. Naruto raised his hands in surrender. Fine fine. Here we go. Doden, Ukina Shugeki. Earth Release, Great Impact. Tenten fell to the ground laughing when a small mound of earth the size of a football was all that was shot away from them. Naruto now had his turn to glare. Come on Tenten, I was restricting the amount of chakra. Watch this. Doden, Ukina Shugeki. Earth Release, Great Impact. This time a boulder the size of a house was fired at high speed away from Naruto. Now that's more like it. Tenten exclaimed as she applauded her blonde teammate. Meanwhile, on their way to the training ground, Sasuke was busy reassuring Sakura that Naruto didn't think that badly about her and that he would readily accept her as a teammate. All of a sudden they were alarmed when an enormous boulder appeared directly ahead of them, ready to smash into the pair. Sasuke leapt in front of Sakura to try and destroy it before it caused any harm. Kaden, Gukakyu. Fire Release, Great Fireball. Sasuke watched as the flame engulfed the incoming boulder and his eyes widened in alarm when he realized that his attack had only set the large rock aflame instead of destroying it. The raven-haired boy grabbed Sakura's arm and barely managed to get them both out of harm's way with a quick kawaii substitution with a nearby log. Gasping from the adrenaline rush, the pair turned to see the source of the deadly technique and were shocked to see a laughing Naruto and Tenten. Sorry guys. Whisker-kun didn't see you there. Tenten yelled out. Panda-chan didn't tell me you were there. Blame her. Naruto countered as he and Tenten fell into an argument. Sasuke and Sakura shared a look. Panda-chan. Whisker-kun. Sakura asked dumbly. Don't ask. Sasuke replied. Come on, let's go meet them. It looks like they've been practicing without us. The raven-haired boy and the pink-haired girl walked over to the bickering pair and Sasuke was forced to split them apart to even listen. Oi, stop fighting you two, and can you care to explain? Where did you learn that earth jutsu Naruto? I'm sure that was the one Osamu was using. Sasuke inquired, genuinely curious. Naruto's grin told him everything he needed to know. Yup. And now I'm gonna test all his moves, TT Ibeo. Guys, Sakura caught their attention shyly. I have an idea. Really? Naruto looked at her and studied her curiously. His eyes met Sasuke's and the Uchiha nodded. The blonde-haired Uzumaki turned to look back at Sakura and smiled. Come on then, let's hear it. Naruto's warm grin brought back confidence to Sakura. Well, I remember Sasuke setting that rock on fire while it was heading towards us. You guys just made it even more dangerous. The realization of the possibilities hit the team as they began to brainstorm ideas. So a huge flaming rock is part of it. What if we add Naruto's wind jutsu? Remember the one that pushed the rock really fast? Tenten started. And because of the wind, the fire will get stronger on the rock and the boulder will also travel faster. Sakura exclaimed. Even if she did not know what jutsu they were talking about, she could still put two and two together. And then we can multiply the rocks. Remember the Doden, Tamaishi Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Earth Release, Boulder Shadow Clone Technique. Whoa, that is epic. Naruto finalized. But wait, that move will only need me and Sasuke. What can Sakura and Panda-chan do to help? Well, Sakura is very good in Genjutsu Naruto. If she can hide some of the rocks, then when the enemy tries to dodge what they can see, they get hit by the invisible ones. Sasuke theorized. Tenten pouted. And what about me? I'm not good at Genjutsu or Ninjutsu. Sakura easily gave a solution. Well, just in case anyone does escape this move, you can always hit them easily with some kunai. This makes this combination almost impossible to dodge. Yada. This is now Team 7's combination 1. Naruto yelled out loudly. I just have to warn you guys though, Doden jutsus are harder for me to do since they are not my main elemental affinity. The blonde boy added. Who cares, Whisker-kun? Let's just test this move already. Sakura and I won't have anything to do, so we'll just watch you two. Tenten stated before grabbing Sakura and leaping away from the boys. Ready, Naruto? Sasuke asked. The whiskered boy nodded. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Shadow Clone Technique. Naruto chanted only for two more grinning clones to appear next to him. Kaden, Gukakyu no Jutsu. Fire Release. Great Fireball. Sasuke breathed in before releasing a massive ball of fire. Doden, Ukina Shujeki. Earth Release. Great Impact. The original Naruto let loose an enormous boulder that easily caught up with the fireball, setting itself on fire. Fuden, Idana Fujin no Iki. Wind Release. Great Wind. God's Breath. One of the clones breathed out. The flames on the rock roared into a fierce inferno as the boulder shot forwards at an even faster speed. Tamaishi Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. The last clone chanted and the already deadly projectile multiplied into 10 terrifying copies. Sakura and Tenten shared a look when a good portion of the forest behind the training ground was obliterated. The two boys in the middle of the clearing, however, were grinning from ear to ear. A few minutes later, Itachi and a few other Uchiha arrived on the scene to inspect their training ground and were shocked to find only 4 kids standing in the center. What are you kids doing? Itachi asked stoically, silently impressed at the damage. Testing our new moves, Nisan. Naruto explained. Sasuke grinned. Can you rate our combination move, Nisan? The raven-haired boy asked innocently. Naruto caught on immediately. Sakura, Panda-chan. We can test your part in the combination now. Itachi eyed the 4 children suspiciously. Knowing his 2 brothers, something was up. Okay, what should I do? Stand there and survive. Sasuke pointed to a spot as Itachi raised an eyebrow at the statement. The older Uchiha brother went to the designated location after telling the other Uchiha that he had come with to stand down and watch. Itachi was not expecting what had happened afterwards, however. The flaming rock was certainly a surprise. However, when it split into 5, he realized that he was in serious trouble and was ready to quickly dash to a side. That was when he felt something off and dispelled Sakura's genjutsu to find that there were not 5, but 10 of the massive death sentences. Adding chakra to his feet, he barely made it to the side of the long line of flaming rocks, only to notice he had no time to block or dodge the 3 kunai that were about to bury themselves into his head. Left with no choice, Itachi spotted a log and quickly did a kawarimi with it. In his new location, however, he was still forced to snatch 2 kunai out of the air to deflect 3 shuriken headed for his throat. The older Uchiha brother breathed out a sigh in relief when he realized that the brutal onslaught was over, while the spectators were eyeing the 4 genin in awe. If it had been one of them in Itachi's place, they would have either suffered serious injury or quite possibly death. Good job, children. Itachi complimented the group. But what else do you have? The evil smirks the group had on their faces made Itachi tense. Oni-san, we're just getting started. Naruto answered before the group launched a second combination they had just agreed upon. Itachi gulped before preparing to spar with the recent academy graduates that were apparently just rookies. Noon, back at the academy. An hour before they were due back at the academy, an exhausted Itachi had excused himself, saying that he had somewhere to be and had quickly disappeared in a shunshin before they could prevent him. As they rested under a tree, Naruto had shown his fight the night before to an entranced Sakura that had to admit that Sasuke was right when he said that Naruto was much stronger in his metal forms. Afterwards, the newly formed team had visited Ichiraku's despite Sasuke's protests about money and time. The 2 girls had been amazed after Naruto practically inhaled 15 entire bowls of the dish before they left for the academy to meet their Jonin sensei. Team 7 were disappointed, however, when it appeared that their Jonin sensei appeared to be late. A few minutes after the class had reassembled, all the other teams had been swiftly picked up. But Team 7 was still waiting. And waiting. And waiting. 1 long hour later, Sakura had decided to take a nap while Tenten was repeatedly twirling a kunai in her hand. Turning to Naruto, she found the blonde-haired ninja tapping the table impatiently while Sasuke had his arms crossed as he glared at the door. She sighed. Why would their sensei be this late? After another whole hour of waiting, Naruto leapt out of his seat in frustration. Okay, this is it. You guys are gonna help me with this. We'll teach him a lesson about being late, TT Ibeo. He yelled out while his other 3 teammates smirked. This was going to be good. Just then the door creaked open as a white-haired man in a face mask strolled in. Finally, after 2 whole hours. Naruto exclaimed angrily. Yo, Kakashi started before he was interrupted. Tenten threw the kunai in her hand at his face with deadly precision while Sasuke held his hands in a seal. Kunai Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Kunai Shadow Clone Technique, he cried out. Naruto drew his hand back. Fuden, Repusho. Wind Release, Gale Palm, he unleashed the gust of air that gave the numerous projectiles their deadly speed boost. To Kakashi's credit, he simply danced his way around them with his hands never leaving his pockets. He gave them an eye smile when the onslaught abruptly ended. Well done, he started before his lone eye widened. He had a bleeding cut on his cheek. But how? He thought to himself. I didn't get hit by those kunai, I'm sure. Sakura smirked. Oops, guess sensei didn't see the genjutsu covered kunai now, did he? Sakura asked innocently. The one-eyed man turned to look at the wall behind him, and he did indeed see many more holes than the ones he had originally dodged. Meet me in training ground 18. He ordered before turning to walk back out the door. Kakashi heard them open the window and wondered why they were using an odd way to exit. He found his answer, however, when just as he walked out through the door, a clone of Naruto doused him in a mix of colored paint. And not just any paint. Naruto's special edition, won't come off, paint. He looked at himself and sighed as the clone dispelled itself and the four behind him burst out laughing before they leapt out of the window. So be it, he thought to himself. I'll just be 2 hours late to the meeting point as well. He planned out as he took out an orange book from within his vest. Actually, he remembered a little conversation with the Hokage and Itachi a few hours back about being late. The copy ninja thought about the conversation a little bit before he was again lost into his own perverted world. A few hours ago. Guy, where is Kakashi? The Sandaime asked. They had already been in a meeting for the last 20 or so minutes discussing the strategies to be used with each of their genin. The first 6 sensei had already given their views and had it discussed with all those gathered. It was now the copy ninja's turn, but he was nowhere in sight. All of a sudden, the said ninja chose that moment to enter the room with his nose buried in his beloved book. Ah! Here is my eternal rival Hokage-sama. Where have you been? Guy yelled out. Kakashi looked up at his friend. I'm sorry, did you say something? Kakashi asked innocently. Guy looked hurt as his face contorted into mock anger. Damn you Kakashi and your hip attitude. The green beast bellowed loudly, causing everyone present to cringe from the volume. Kakashi I smiled at him before turning back to his book. The white-haired man then felt a spike of killing intent only to see Kurenai glaring at him and his book. He gave her another eye smile that only seemed to infuriate her further. Looking good Kurenai. He teased. All of a sudden a second killing intent joined Kurenai's and Kakashi opened his eye to see Asuma glaring daggers at him. Wait. Asuma. Before things could get any worse, Hiruzen coughed silently to get the Jonin's attention. Satisfied that they were all listening, even if Kurenai and Asuma looked like they wanted to kill Kakashi, the old man leaned back into his chair and drew a breath from his pipe. You 6, he pointed to the first 6 Jonin sensei, thank you for your time and I wish you all the best of luck with your teams. You may leave now. After the 6 bowed and left, he faced Kakashi, who had by now put away his book, slightly unnerved by the glares he had been receiving. Well then Kakashi, nice of you to finally join us. The pleasure is mine Hokage-sama. Kakashi replied. What do you think about your current squad? Hiruzen inquired, curious as to Kakashi's choices. He wasn't complaining, however, the team itself seemed well set up. I would say that Naruto and Sasuke together will be a threat if Naruto's actions against Osamu have been any indication last night. The girl Sakura is smart and has great control, if only she can get past her fangirl tendencies then we would have less problems. As for Tenten, all-around weapons support and she can be anywhere from close to long range in combat. Kakashi answered seriously, reverting for a moment back to his Anbu captain persona. He was still unaware of his recent team's developments. But that was about to change. There was a light knock on the door. Enter. The Hokage ordered after nodding towards Kakashi's statement. All the room's current occupants turned to face Itachi as he walked in through the door. Itachi Uchiha Hokage-sama. Reporting about the incident in Uchiha Training Ground 3. The Uchiha reported stoically after bowing. The old Hokage breathed out a puff of smoke with an eyebrow raised. And it appears that the newly appointed Team 7 had been using it as a training ground, Hokage-sama. The raven-haired Uchiha answered. Kakashi then turned to the new arrival. If I am not mistaken, that incident was around 3 hours ago. Kakashi stated matter-of-factly. He continued when the Uchiha turned to him. What took you so long before you arrived here to report? My apologies, Kakashi-senpai. Your team requested that I test some of their new abilities and I have accompanied them since then. Itachi replied. It was only then the group realized that Itachi was trying very hard not to breathe heavily and that his Anbu uniform was full of dirt and seemed to be slightly burnt by fire. The Hokage asked the question on all their minds. So what happened to you then? Training dummy. The Uchiha replied once again stoically, but they noticed that he had a particularly sour taste in his mouth about being one. Itachi continued. Naruto seems to have suddenly gained very good control of the Doton element along with his Futon and has been incredibly effective if not ingenious in their use. Together with Sasuke they are launching coordinated attacks that have proven incredibly difficult to avoid. Tenten does not have many skills save for her proficiency in weaponry. Although regularly she would be no match for me, she tends to stay far and toss and kunai or maces at the most unfortunate times for me while I was evading the two boys' ninjutsu and I have had too many close calls for my liking. Then Sakura, she lives up to being best kunoichi in class. Although she took no part at all in the action, her genjutsu was very annoying. Her three teammates already were enough to deal with, but with her in the fold I did not know whether an attack I saw was real, fake or whether she was masking an attack, and due to the amount of kunai and ninjutsu flying around I found myself at a loss of time to effectively dispel the genjutsu. Even if I can see through most of it with no problem, sometimes she just uses barely anything, so I feel a little dug of genjutsu while an attack is heading towards me. Because of that tug, I can no longer differentiate whether the attack is real or an illusion, and I do not have the time available to figure it out, so the safest thing for me to do is dodge. Multiply this predicament with 10 more similar jutsus occurring simultaneously around you along with those that are invisible and the pestering kunai that always appears just as I forget about them. This however has nothing to say about the sheer firepower behind the techniques launched by my brothers. I am exhausted because my Sharingan has been active for the entire 3 hours of that practice, and I used this meeting as an excuse to leave. Itachi explained tiredly. Everyone however could hear the pride present in his tired voice. Asuma whistled. Well, will you look at that, the great Itachi Uchiha prodigy strained in a spar against a green genin squad. The Uchiha glared at the bearded man. Asuma-san, I would suggest you yourself engage them in a spar while we evaluate your performance against these green genin. Yash. Such a youthful team you have with yourself, Kakashi. Fan those great flames of youth within them and let them grow into fine, young shinobi. Guy yelled out before anything could get more serious. It had the desired effect as the Hokage and Kurenai laughed while Kakashi looked deep in thought. Noticing the shift in atmosphere, Itachi turned back to Kakashi to ask him a question. Kakashi-senpai, are you going to be doing the bell test of yours with them this year? He smiled when Kakashi nodded. Don't worry, senpai, I won't ruin its purpose by telling them. I just want to warn you, I think my brothers will get a little carried away if you tell them to come at you with the intent to kill. The masked man shrugged. I can handle them. Itachi shook his head. Don't be overconfident, senpai. He warned. You are aware of Naruto's unique abilities, I assume? Kakashi nodded. Most Jonin know about his powers. Word was spread among us by the Anbu that were with you yesterday and also seen a little last year during the failed Uchiha coup. Kakashi informed him. Itachi nodded. His ninjutsu grow in power at that state and I cannot see the chakra within him due to the armor. I also feel like stating that the team looks to Naruto as their captain when you are not around, and they may outsmart you if you are not watching yourself. There is also the fact that the boys are, well, they value their time and may lose their temper if senpai is late. Hiruzen laughed out loud in his seat. We shall see, Itachi. All those in this room are free to come here tomorrow to watch Kakashi's genin exam with his squad. The room's occupants all grinned as Kakashi's sweat dropped. Seriously. The group's smirks all grew wider. Well then, Kakashi, I smiled, I'll be taking my leave now guys, Hokage-sama. Yane. He waved as he turned to walk out of the door. Kakashi, I thought you just received Itachi's warning about being late. I assume you are going to be late, aren't you? The Hokage asked. Everyone could feel Kakashi's smirk beneath the mask. I personally just want to see what they're going to do about it. The copy ninja replied before exiting the office. Behind the door he heard Itachi laughing. That bad huh? He thought to himself. Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, Tenten Jakunato, Sakura Haruno. Team 7. You guys seem to hold promise. Anyway, it won't hurt if I'm 2 hours late now, will it? End flashback. And now, he was a victim of Naruto's infamous colored paint. Oh well, it's not like it was that much of a bother as the majority of the paint had ended up only on his clothes. He would just have to head home, take a shower before changing his clothes, then head to the training ground another few hours late. Kakashi silently wondered what his students would do to him but did not pay it that much attention. If he was late again, then it was simply payback. You can imagine his surprise, however, when he got to the designated training ground 2 hours later at 4, and it was empty. No pissed off students yelling at him, no revenge pranks, and no massive exchange of ninjutsu took place. He was slightly disappointed but decided to wait a little bit since they might have gone to take a nap. Waiting was no really a problem for Kakashi, he would simply take out his book to pass the time. 2 long hours later, just as the sun was about to set, the 4 students appeared on the training ground. Kakashi was a little irritated. They had just made him wait. They were the first. Oh, hi there, sensei. Sakura greeted cheerily. Why were you early? Kakashi felt his eye twitched but decided to try and keep his normal carefree persona instead. Oh, nothing, I just felt like it. What about you guys? Where have you been? Sakura smiled. Well, you see, after we left the academy we realized that we were hungry and decided to stop over a restaurant for some food. Tenten smiled and continued. And then we met a black cat and decided to take the long way. Unfortunately, we ended up at my store and we decided to restock and sharpen some of our weapons. Tenten admitted. The 2 girls then looked to Naruto, who had a stupid grin on and acting sheepish. Well, you see, there was this old lady with a heavy cart, so we decided to help here. I'm sorry we're late. The 3 then turned to Sasuke, who seemed to be staring off into space. Oh, hi there, Sasuke. Kakashi began. You seem a little lost. That isn't good. He continued with an eye smile. The raven-haired boy turned to Kakashi lazily. You say something. Kakashi's world froze with a stupid look on his face. Was this what Guy felt like every time? The thought crossed his head. Then a second thought crossed by. They're copying me. Late, stupid excuses, hip attitude, the masked Jonin suddenly felt as if someone had crossed onto his territory. I think you guys are copying me. He stated with a straight face and his arms crossed. What? Naruto asked innocently. I said I think. What? Kakashi growled. I think. It doesn't matter what you think. Naruto laughed out before suddenly being forced to duck as a kunai whizzed over where his head was. Come on, Kakashi-sensei. That was cool, TT Ibeo. Don't attack your students. Naruto mocked as his other 3 teammates burst out laughing. Kakashi had fallen straight into that last one. The Jonin took deep breaths to calm himself down. Getting riled up by kids was embarrassing to say the least. Not to mention the fact that he especially felt like strangling the blonde kid, consequences be damned. After a few minutes the man managed to calm down enough to talk politely to the children again. Well kids, I think we got off on the wrong foot. He started. Then what foot was I supposed to get off on? Naruto asked cheekily while Sasuke snickered. Kakashi's eye twitched, but for the sake of the greater good he swallowed down his irritation. We can start with basic introductions to each other. Such as name, likes and dislikes. I don't see the need for that. Sasuke commented before gesturing to his 3 teammates. Because without you here we already got to know each other much better than simple likes and dislikes. But I do not know them, do I? Kakashi responded. It would only be fair then that you inform me. Sakura shook her head. You go first, Kakashi-sensei. Even if it is just to show us how it's done. The one-eyed Jonin sighed. Very well then. My name is Kakashi Hatake and I like having many comrades, reading this book and wasting time when I am not on missions. As for dislikes, I hate people who sacrifice their comrades just for the mission and do not care about teamwork. There, that is me done, now it is your turn. He said as he pointed towards Naruto. He blonde-haired boy shrugged. No thanks, don't feel like it. Kakashi glared at him. And why not? Sasuke answered for his friend. Well, we said nothing about revealing that information to you after your demonstration. So we are not really obliged to do so. Kakashi had a feeling that pointless arguments such as these were going to be abundant in this team in the long run. Fine then, I'll just tell you that tomorrow is the day that you guys will have your real genin exam. Contrary to the shocked reactions that he was expecting, Kakashi was surprised when they all just smiled at him. Finally, Tenten yelled. We were waiting for you to get to the good part, Kakashi-sensei. Not for the first time that day, Kakashi sighed. You guys knew. Sasuke laughed. Of course we do. My mother is the clan head, remember? Well then, show up here in this training ground at 6 sharp tomorrow morning. Don't be late. He informed them briefly. Oh, and don't eat anything. You might regret it. With his piece said, the Jonin disappeared in a swirl of leaves. From the trees, Kakashi looked on impressed when the team began scouting the training ground for any information on how to use it to their advantage the next day. I can't wait to face them tomorrow. He thought randomly. If they are as good as Itachi says they are, then I may have my hands full. Web links. Web links.